the Premier League, because listen, Rice is a very good footballer. Calvin Phillips might not, maybe hasn't worked. If they got Rice, maybe they ship him off. There's Mateo Kovacic, he's still 24. So there's a genuine possibility that, listen, he's a good player. Why don't you try him? Because Arsenal had put in 75 million. And when West Ham rejected it, City's valuation of the player was that amount of money. They were not going to go higher. And Arsenal just went up and went higher and got the deal. So
now they've got their man, though.
Yeah. And listen.
How does that change Arsenal's team and the outlook of it going into the next season?
Brilliant signing. And the thing is, I've said this before, that somewhere, it's two things, or it could be a combination of them. It's either there's a genuine lack of very high quality young defensive midfielders across the elite level, or Declan Rice is that good. Because when I look around Europe, I think Declan Rice improves every team.
Every
top team.
Yeah, every team
in that position.
Yes. Every team, in that position. If even Real Madrid
So
don't have,
basically, what you're saying is that's the best defensive midfielder in the world right now.
One off, or just
better than Rodri.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, that's what I say. One off. He said one off.
No, that's you see the reason I asked that question is because
you know the answer to your question. You know the answer to that question. Yeah. Which of City's players has Pep complained about the most?
You tell me.
Rodri.
He complains about everything.
Because of the system, not because of the player.
But
that role is so essential to the system that you can't slack off.
I'll put Rodri ahead of him, maybe. Yes, but he's right up there. And the thing is, if Pep gets Rice, he improves City because John Stones will stop playing that thing. Rice will be a better player coming into centre back and going into midfield and carrying the ball further into the opponent's half than John Stones did last season. So he improves City. Real Madrid don't have a defensive midfielder who has shown consistency and better than maybe Rice. It could be in Tchouaméni, but we've seen in his first season at some point Carlo couldn't trust him, and Rice could walk into Real Madrid and do that job as a DM. Barcelona don't have a DM. He could go in there. He would improve Man United. He would improve Chelsea. He would improve Bayern Munich. Look, so it's two things. It's either Rice is that good, or there's a general lack of overall defensive midfield quality, and Arsenal have got him. And the thing about Rice is, the guy doesn't normally get injured, and that's one of the reasons why I think Arsenal want to move Partey on.
Yes.
So Rice coming makes Partey's position untenable now. Like there's no way back for him.
I think so. I think again when you have a player earning the wages that Partey earns, and last season, Partey for most parts of the season couldn't play 2 games in a week. And you remember that when he was in Ghana in the game against Angola, he played in Ghana. He was on the bench in the return game because it was only 3 days apart. And even when Ghana was losing, Partey wasn't. We didn't say Partey was injured, but Partey was on the bench. We couldn't use him. If you play Europa League and the Premier League, you can afford that.
Yeah,
you can afford to have your best player on the bench on the Europa League nights, and then use. But when you play Champions League, Rodri will play against Arsenal on Sunday, and on Wednesday night play 90 minutes against Bayern Munich. That is what you want from a player who costs that much, a player who's essential to the way you want to play. I think Arsenal have a quality player in Declan Rice.
Look, for me quickly, I don't when signings are coming in, first of all I consider the player's attributes, not his position, but his attributes, and then the manager that he's coming into. Because where modern day football is going, especially with Pep and Arteta, I don't think we can sit here and say this person will play here and this person will play here. Even the comparison between roles I feel the way Arsenal plays, I will not be surprised, because if you look at Declan Rice's attributes, his ball carrying is very good.
Yeah,
He understands the final third better than most defensive players do. Look at what Arteta did with Xhaka last season. We didn't see that side of Xhaka ever in his career. But Arteta was able to bring that out of him because of certain attributes that he has. So if you look at the position and say this person is playing as a right back or this person is a centre back, and you limit them to that position, but not necessarily exploring the other attributes they can be, it can be limited. Going to Arteta, Jorginho can sit, and Declan Rice could easily be that Xhaka replacement.
It's not one dimensional.
They could have different. You see, the importance.
It gives them options.
I always say, especially about Arsenal. When people are talking about Man City, you talk, hey, Pep has had another 2. When it comes to Arsenal and other players, you are saying, where will he play? Are you okay? Arsenal should take the same team to go and play Champions League. They need options. I don't care if they have 5 top-class defensive midfielders. That is the standard. So what Arsenal is doing, I salute. It's a top-class.
They are stockpiling.
Pay the money for the quality players, and that's what
and you need depth.
I was going to say, Declan Rice is not a one-dimensional midfielder where you can say, apart from DM, he has nothing else to his game.
He's a
right?
very good player.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's Cobham trained, so what do you expect?
No, he's a Cobham reject.
It doesn't matter. Daniel said age what to what. He was all Agoba, so he was there. Thank you.
Right.
Atsu, I'm going to throw this to you. Mason Mount. Thank you. Listen, Man U did everything possible to get it. At some point, there were reports that Man U were opting out. Of course, Fabrizio says there was never a point where United were out of the race. But Chelsea stuck to their asking price, maybe dropped a little bit, and still got Man United to pay for an academy graduate with 1 year left in his contract, £60 million. Chelsea fans are celebrating. United fans, quite a few of them are livid. But let's forget about their reaction and talk about what he brings to that United team. Why would Ten Hag stick his neck out and make United pay that amount of money for a player that only had 12 months left in his contract? What problem does he solve in that United team?
Honestly, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't.
But he is a more intensive presser than anybody you have in your team.
But you see, it's not all about intensity. You want players who can interpret space in that midfield. Players who... I think if you look at Man United's performance last season, their immediate need is someone who can take better care of the ball and allow United to be a bit more expressive. I don't see how Mason Mount comes into that, but I have a theory. In similar terms to Arteta's interest in Kai Havertz, these two deals are only happening because I believe both managers have figured out a manner to deploy these guys, perhaps in a manner never seen before. Right? They perhaps have seen skill sets and have seen scenarios where those players can become significant.
Or as Danny says, Danny likes to say they have attributes that can be explored.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and the same goes because, look, everyone is talking about Ten Hag and how he's been a big fan of Mount as at Vitesse. That is based on the assumption that Ten Hag's coaching has not evolved for 6 years. It is based on the assumption that Mason Mount still has the same attributes as he had at Vitesse, which I find it very hard to believe. So my thinking is that Arteta, have perhaps figured out and are clear in their mind a way to get these guys to play that perhaps hasn't been done before, which also takes into account the failings that we have seen in the last couple of years, which makes people discredit them.
Would Mount be, say, a better fit for that United team in the position, for example, where Eriksen plays?
Fitness-wise, yes. But as I've said...
it makes sense then.
It does make sense, but
because he's quicker, he's more intense,
It's not the intensity.
But it's also important.
No, clarify this for me. What is the fitness-wise? Are you talking about in health? Or are you talking about in fitting
intensity?
No, intensity.
No, because for that position... Look, for that position,
you can't compare Eriksen to Mount has more energy.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the brains. He doesn't have the brains to play there. No, thank you.
But he does.
He doesn't have the brains. Look,
Mount doesn't have brains.
We saw Brozovic versus Man City. They pressed him. He didn't blink.
Yeah.
Brozovic. Because he plays as if he's on ice. He didn't blink. He can see the spaces, even if there are two players within the channels.
Marco Verratti.
At any point,
suggesting that is 60 million?
I'm not saying it's a waste. I'm saying that I can't see how it works, but I suspect the managers have it figured out. The only thing I'm going to add is this: clearly, there's not a lot of willingness to spend big this season at Old Trafford, and in situations like that, you'd want to at least in one of the transfers give the coach who he's asking for and go to great lengths to provide that player. That perhaps would explain why United will give priority to that move and maybe not a Harry Kane, right? Because if they have £90 million to spend and 30 can get them Onana and then 60 can get them Mason Mount, it will then make more sense than to throw it all on Harry Kane when you're not even sure of how that deal will play out, because that could drag out until the final week of preseason, and then by that time you have not added any player to the roster, and you throw the entire season's plans into this area. So I suspect that's a big sacrifice that they have made for the manager, and I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt and see how that works out.
Yes, Gary.
Yeah, I think Mason Mount will be used in a way that he's probably not been used for Chelsea. And I'm thinking, I have this sneaky suspicion that he'll be a hybrid Eriksen, yes, but he would like to deploy him like Havertz as well. You know,
When you
because
use
you see, if you look at his skill
hybrid
set,
to describe a player,
you see, if you look at his skill
memories.
set, you see, if you look at his skill set, I know he has the tendency to shoot into Rosie,
he does.
but he has the teachable spirit. Mason Mount is teachable.
Yeah, he's 24. He's young.
He's teachable to the extent.
Hagi will teach you.
Yes, I am feeling, because you can't spend that money.
But we've seen some before.
Yeah,
Hagi is not a good teacher. That is why. That is why Anthony.
Malasia. You see,
Vegas.
Okay, guys, we have to wrap it up. We have to wrap.
Sancho.
Okay.
The reason why this,
Sichu,
the
allow
reason why this
Daniel.
Mason Mount-
finish.
the reason why this Mason Mount deal disturbs me
Okay.
is the genesis of Hagi's transfer.
You mean
activity.
Ten Hag?
Ten Hag.
Yes.
When Ten Hag starting, okay, the prime player he wanted was Frankie De Jong, and it made sense because that sort of defensive midfielder sort of player is the key when it comes to teams that are possession centered.
Yes.
That is him. That is his philosophy. If you look at Frankie De Jong, look at Rodri, look at Jorginho.
So that pursuit made sense.
Exactly. You didn't get him and you went for Casemiro, an old school style DM. Now all of a sudden, the following season, you are pairing him with, you are bringing Mason Mount inside, but yet you want a goalkeeping, ball playing goalkeeper.
Pass the ball to
It's a bit confusing. You want to buy Anthony, who thrives in that possession centered team.
Yeah.
Malasia, who is a very assistant player. So you are buying players who
do different things.
Different background, different education.
The guy conf.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Sicho. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Sicho. Thank you, Daniel Cranton. Thank you, Victor Atsu Tamakloe, as well, for joining us here on Game Plan. My name is Fento Tahiru Fento. To all of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. To over the 400 people that are tuning on Twitter Spaces, we appreciate all of your time. We're back again next week at 1:15 p.m. on Friday. Until then, I'm Fento.